What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to MLB Swing for the Fences DFS show here on the Run Pure Sports YouTube channel. It's Friday, August 22nd, less than 2 weeks away. Stats from the start of NFL football. But we grind on with baseball for now. Monster 13-game slate tonight. And excited to break it down. Filling in for Boynton today on the Friday night fireworks show. Stats, how you doing? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you, man. What's going on? It's time everyone, kind of punch the clock out for the week and get ready for the weekend. If anyone, I don't think anyone really punches a clock anymore, but you ever punch a clock in your lifetime? Have you ever had a job where you had to actually punch in and out?
Yeah, my first job in high school, groceries, packing groceries. I had to do that, but it's been a long time.
It's been a while for me. I used to do it too. I used to punch in and out, man. But the old time clocks, time cards are non-existent these days. But listen, I'm ready. I'm ready for. I was telling you before the show, I'm ready for the NFL, but I'm not quite ready. Like once we get in there, it's like life changes for a few months for us. There's a lot more work involved on a day-to-day basis with the NFL, but I'm looking forward to it. Also, listen, we got that splash. Did you see the pool that we started with Splash? So that's like a mini super game. If you're familiar with the super contest, pick 5 games a week against the spread, and it's just $100, and it should be a lot of fun. So hopefully we'll try to get links down on future shows here. And but if you're in our Discord, you've got the link already, and you can join that pool, which would be a lot of fun. Will be a lot of trash talk during the NFL season with the guys at RPS, I'm sure, vying for the top spot.
Yeah, should be awesome. Definitely will enter the Splash contest. I'm sure a lot of people watching. Members will too. That'll be fun. And yeah, NFL. I'm ramping up my work now, but you know how it goes. The last couple days before NFL kicks off in earnest, obviously, things can change, of course, between now and then. So we'll be getting ready for that. But for now, we got to get to the baseball because, like I mentioned, 13 games to talk about tonight. A lot to get to. We do start off in Baltimore for the Astros and the Orioles. Orioles going with lefty rookie Cade Povich. It's been pretty unimpressive for the most part in his brief major league time, and he does get, I believe, an all right-handed Astros lineup here. Yeah, 9 righties in the lineup for the Astros, whose lineup has improved recently. Added Carlos Correa, got Jeremy Pena back from injury, and some of these guys are hitting a little bit. So I think the Astros somewhat interesting here against Povich in what should be a pretty hitter-friendly night in Baltimore. And then Lance McCullers on the other side. He had some good starts when he first came up, but I wasn't really buying it. And he has been very, very bad outside of kind of that good run he had back in May and June. The last, 4, 5, 6 starts for McCullers have been rough. His command is all over the place. And I think he's one of the pitchers on this slate stats that's most prone to just a complete meltdown, start walking dudes. Guys can get active on the bases. And, I wouldn't be shocked if he threw well, but I could see an implosion here from McCullers, which does have me interested in this Orioles squad as well. Mostly hitting in this one for me. What about you? Orioles and Astros.
Yeah, I think you said it right there with McCullers. There is the potential there for some upside. Like he's still one of those guys he's better than a K per inning, at least on the projections and in the prop markets, which tends to, of course, elevate them in my model. But you nailed it with the control. I mean, this is, if he's not the worst control pitcher right now on this slate, he's right up there with another guy who had success a while ago, and maybe he's not the same pitcher with a Blake Snell, who we'll get to later. But those guys are really having issues with the control, and I always worry about that. But the thing with a pitcher who does have some K upside with the control issues is, especially at a $6,800 price, there is some upside to, he could find himself a good game. Now, as it stands, I've got him rated as the 14th best pitcher on this slate, so I'm not really expecting much, but I think you can maybe sprinkle in a few if you're playing 150 lineups, some McCullers, just because of that upside. Povich, yeah, a little bit better here. I've got him as the 7th best option on the slate. Not nearly the K potential, I don't think, that McCullers has, but better control and a $6K price tag, which is not too shabby. So I mean, quick on the K props, 4.5 for Povich and 5.5 juice to the under for McCullers. But yeah, I think on the whole, this is probably a little bit better hitting game than pitching.
Yeah, I'm with you there. P. Lally notes Houston been mediocre against lefties. That's true. They haven't faced very many. And you just look at this Astros lineup. There's no way, I don't think, long term that they're not going to be significantly better against left-handed pitching, which has me, it sounds like maybe a little bit lower on Povich than the field, although Sabres got even Povich at just 5%. So not like a ton of people are going there at 6K. Let's get to the next game on the slate. It is the Yankees and the Boston Red Sox. Max Fried throwing from the left side for the Yankees. Brian Bayo will be pitching from the right side for Boston. Looks like pretty low projection from Saber and no ownership on Bayo, which I might project him a little bit higher than 11, but not much, and not much interest for me in Bayo. I do think there's some strikeout upside against this Yankees team, but I do think there are better options on the slate, certainly than an 8K Brian Bayo. And then Max Fried, I do have quite a bit of interest in at 9,500. He's been, at least results-wise, stats not very good for, I don't know, over a month now. You can go back to July 12th if you take his stats from that point. It's been rough for Fried, but digging into him, I couldn't really find anything wrong with Fried. He looks like he's the same guy, just kind of looks to me like a bad variance, mostly stretch of pitching for Fried. And I kind of just am treating him as he's coming off 2 good starts rather than 2 bad ones. So I'm in on Fried here. I think the strikeout upside is super high against Boston for Fried. Obviously not the best strikeout pitcher in general. Some danger, of course, right? The Red Sox are a dangerous lineup, but we're obviously looking mostly for strikeout upside, and I certainly think Fried has it. So he is on my short list tonight. We'll be going to some Yankees bats, but I do have stacks I like better. Not going to play many, if any, Red Sox. What do you say on Max Fried against this Red Sox team stats?
Yeah, so I mean, quick over the props. Fried's got one of the best K props on the slate. It is juice to the under, but it's 6.5, and one of the highest projected outs. So to go deeper into the game, 17.5 heavy juice to the over with Bayo at just 4.5 K is juiced under, and 16.5 on his pitching out. So I do have interest in Fried. I agree with you here. Probably one of the better upsides that we're going to have on all these on all the pitchers here tonight. I've got him as the 3rd best option, and that takes into account price. So 9,500's up there on the. I think he's maybe the 3rd highest price pitcher on the slate today. But I do have quite a bit of interest for sure in Fried. I have no interest in Bayo at all. I've got him down as one of the worst pitchers on the entire slate, 25th ranked. So just no interest at all. Just not enough Ks with if I'm going to take a pitcher with the potential for, with his walk per inning number, and certainly with the runs projected against, he's got to have a high strikeout total, and I just don't get that. So for 8K, I'm out there. The Yankees traditionally here, I like them most nights, and they're often going to show you a really good tournament edge. And I think the tournament edge on the Boom Report is probably the best. That's probably the best metric to really look at. And, tonight's no different. They're giving you a pretty strong tournament edge number, which means they're probably undervalued based on the potential that they have. So I really like the bats here for the Yankees. I like Chisholm, Judge as always, and then Bellinger, Grissom, and Rice. Those 4 guys are all really rated quite high. Volpe's up there as far as his tournament edge numbers, but I think Yankee stacks really in play here. I don't have a ton of interest. You're going to obviously get some leverage against the field if you take the Red Sox bats. Garcia is a 2K option, so if you're looking for a good punt option, a little bit of power, nothing major, but for 2K is not a terrible option, not a terrible player if you're looking to squeeze someone in maybe in the outfield in a one-off spot, and you're looking for a punt, not the worst punt, but I'm really more focused on Yankee bats here today.
Yeah, Garcia tore apart the minor leagues, 20 home runs in 99 games. 22-year-old with a lot of power is, I have no idea how to pronounce that first name, but Garcia for the Red Sox, if you need a 2K player, he does look like a good option. And actually, you talking through his stats, I think the Yankees do make a ton of sense. Bayo worse against lefties. He's also got, maybe his biggest issue is the walk rate, especially to lefties. This Yankees team is very, very patient. You could see a lot of guys on the bases, and with their power, that could quickly turn into a bunch of runs. So yeah, I do think the Yankees make sense, especially as you mentioned, going to be looks like lower owned than perhaps they should be. Let's go to Detroit next for the Tigers and the Royals division battle here. We've got Casey Mize going for the Tigers, Ryan Bergert going for the Royals. Mize, I kind of think we know what he is at this point. Certainly a pitcher you can attack. Vinny Pasquantino has homered in 4 straight games. He's been on fire. I think he's an interesting play for those buying into that hot streak. I just like him in general. So Pasquantino on my short list at first base. I don't know what to make of Ryan Bergert quite yet. I don't think I'm inclined to play him too much here, even at 7,200 against the Tigers. Kind of, just not sure what to make of him at the moment. So I'll probably avoid that. Not a lot of interest in Mize either. And then the KC bats look decent to me, but 13 game slate, this is one of them stats where I don't think I'm going to have too much exposure either way.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the way to go here. I don't love the pitchers, don't love the bats either. I mean, it's always tough against Kansas City. The strikeout total is typically going to be a little lower. I mean, when you look at the prop market on both these pitchers, not anything to get excited about. Mize 3.5 Ks, juice to the over, and how does he even pronounce that? Bergert?
I think it's Bergert, but I'm not sure.
Bergert sounds about right. So 4.5 is his K prop. So I've got Mize, 15th best option on the slate, just really low, probably one of the 2 or 3 lowest K per inning numbers. So that's going to really hold him down. Good control is fine, but just not enough Ks at 8,300. Just don't like it at all. And then and Bergert again 7,200. Just not getting enough upside there. We are projecting him to give up a bit of runs. Not looking to go very deep in this game. That's the one good thing about Mize. He is one of the projected to go deeper than just about all but 2 or 3 pitchers in this game. So that is a bit of an upside. But just without the strikeouts, I just can't, on a big slate like this, I just can't really see getting myself to pay 8,300 on Mize. But, it's not like I really love the pitching either. I mean, if you mentioned Vinny P. He's always kind of up there on the boom report, just with that home run potential. But I think there's just better options. I would be surprised if either one of these teams find their way into the nuts. If I had to choose between the two, it's definitely Kansas City bats with Witt and Pasquantino, but and maybe throw some Yaz in there at a decent price, 3,600. But I don't have a ton of interest in this game.
I'm with you. Pilali looks like he's on the Royals. I mean, I don't hate it. They're going to be low owned as we see stack around, 3 to 5%, something like that. Feels fair against a mediocre pitcher in Mize with some high upside bats in the Royals lineup rather. So I get it. Both of us just think there are better spots to go to tonight. Let's go to Miami next for the Blue Jays and the Marlins. We get the return of Shane Bieber, who will also be making his Blue Jays debut. Haven't seen him in, I don't know how long. It goes back to last year sometime, I think. And I don't even think he threw many innings last year. But you don't have to go back too far stats where Bieber, is one of the very, very top pitchers in baseball. The top strikeout arm back in 2020, 2021, a few years ago now. The Blue Jays were very patient bringing him up here for his first start. Got up to 90 pitches in AAA, made 3 starts there. Before that was in, I think, single and double A. So I kind of think Bieber's going to be a full go here. We do get minor league data from, pitches now as well. His velocity back up to those dominant year levels. I'm not expecting Bieber to be that good, but we have seen pitchers come back from long-term injuries. Hunter Green recently came back, hit the ground running, looked like himself. I know it's been longer for Bieber. He's an older pitcher, but based on the data, I kind of think Bieber is going to be really good if he can stay healthy for the Blue Jays down the stretch. I kind of want to buy in early here. 14% on Bieber feels fair to me. I think he's a really good pitcher. Matchup is pretty good here against the Marlins. And I'm buying Bieber here. Gusto on the other side, pitching for the Marlins, a true splits guy. Gets hits hard by left-handed bats. I think you can definitely stack Toronto, but Addison Barger, I think, the top bat overall for the Blue Jays. Your thoughts here on Blue Jays and Marlins?
Yeah, let's go over the props. It's Gusto's 4.5 juice to the under with I like to call him, the Biebs. Bieber is only 5.5. Like the K number is just not all that high, heavily juiced to the under.
Yeah.
But I think he's going to go full. I think it's like you said. I think he's kind of full steam ahead. They're not going to have him on any sort of pitch count because you look at the market, 17.5. A lot of times, like in a situation where someone's coming off injury or they're coming back, like they won't even put an out prop out there. But it's got 17.5 outs in for his prop, and we're kind of projecting him to have a fairly normal outing, 5.5 innings, 6 innings. So that's keeping him up. I've got him as the 9th best option on the slate. It's just at 9K.
Yeah.
We're not, I'm not getting enough strikeouts here to really to get too excited. I've got him, like I said, 9th best option. He'll be in the mix, but I just think there's a lot of cheap pitching today that I'm probably going to be finding my way onto a little bit more than the Bieber here, and then Gusto, just no option, no interest in for me. I agree with you. I think Barger's one of the top options for this game in particular. Springer and Varsho for me also. Those guys, I'm really gonna stay away from the Miami bats. I think Toronto bats, they're just gonna be secondary stacks for me. I don't like a lot of 5-man stacks, but I do like their top hitters here in secondary stacks, 2- and 3-man stacks.
Yeah, pitch count for Beebe. I mean, you never know for sure, but I think if he's going well, I mean, he threw 90 last time out in AAA. I think you could throw 100 pitches here, to get through 6 if things are going well, something like that. Would expect around 90 in most scenarios, but I basically think he's a full go. Props seem to think something similar with the out prop. I'm sure I would know some if I heard them stats, but I can't actually name a Justin Bieber song off the top of my head. You got a favorite?
Yeah,
Justin
I
Bieber
do.
song?
Yeah, what was like one of the first ones? Baby, baby, baby. Oh, that's a great song. What was that? Baby, baby, baby. Oh, that's a great song, man.
Not really.
I don't know any of his other ones, but that was like I think that was like the original big hit.
Yeah. Not enough of a Justin Bieber fan, but I am on the Bieber train tonight for MLB DFS. So as far as I can go with it, let's get back to the games here. Mets and Braves are up next. Lefty Joey Wentz going for the Braves has fared well. He's been okay. He's been pretty decent the last 3, 4, 5 starts. I'm not a believer in Wentz in general. I'm guessing the props are pretty low on him, but you'll let us know in a moment. I do think these Mets bats, this righty power, not an ideal park, and there's some weather issues here to watch too. But Lindor, Starling Marte swinging a good bat. We know the power Pete Alonso has. Vientos is cheap in the 5-hole. I think they make some, obviously you can include Soto in there if you want. I do think these Mets bats make some sense as a contrarian option. I'll pull up ownership here on the hitting. Yeah. Yep. Mets looks like 5 to 10% owned, which feels fair for me with the Mets. Pitching wise in this game, Wentz not going to be very on 5%. And then Mets are going with rookie righty Nolan McLean. Looks pretty mediocre to me. I don't think he's a complete can like some of the pitchers that teams are forced to go with these days, but I do think he'll be slightly overmatched at the big league level, including in this game. I know the Braves disappointed myself and a lot of people on Wednesday night after smashing the previous few slates. And I'm right back on him here, stats. Michael Harris, keep talking about him. I think he remains the best overall value on DraftKings at 3,500. And then the rest of the lefties here for the Braves, that's Olsen, Profar. You could go to Albies, and then Drake Baldwin are the main ones I'm looking at. But I like offense in both sides of this game. I think we're going to see runs between the Braves and the Mets. What do you say on Atlanta and New York here?
Yeah, as far as the weather, I looked at it. I mean, it's it's so typical down in the Southeast here, Atlanta, and down by me in Tampa. Those are 2 games that people were worried about this time of year. You kind of get those storms pop up, but I think they're going to be fine from what I'm looking at. I mean, they may get a storm briefly hit them, but certainly for the bats, they're going to be fine. They're going to play the whole game. On the pitching side, McLean I've got as my 13th option. 8,700, a little pricey for the Ks. We're only looking at 4.5 Ks in the prop market. And then Wentz is 4.5 Ks as well. Actually projected a little bit better. He's juiced a little bit more to the over on his strikeout number. for the 6,900. But yeah, I agree with you. I think we're looking more offensively in this game. Now, it's not a Friday night without touting Atlanta, but I don't think I really like the Atlanta bats all that much. I do like the Met bats a bit. Lindor, Alonso, Soto, Marte at the 3,500, I think is pretty good there. If you're going to play some 5-man stacks. So they're not my favorite stack on the slate. Met stacks here tend to be expensive. Those, Lindor, Alonso, and Soto, all pretty pricey. If you are playing a 5-man stack, you can fit, a Vientos, who I hate playing, but 2,600 fit you in there. It's just not my favorite 5-man stack. And the Atlanta side, I think I'm going to be very limited on. Not going to have a whole lot of the Atlanta bats. Maybe you'll have a little bit more, but I like the Mets more in a secondary stack role.
Yeah, that does make sense to me. Braves ownership looks like, really low on Braves ownership. So I do think this game is sneaky for offense. One problem, the Mets bullpen pretty good, obviously trying to win games. So Braves will need to get it done early, but I like the chances to do it against McLean and would avoid most of the good Mets bullpen arms, at least in that scenario. Let's go to a game that I think a lot of people are going to go to for offense, myself included. We've got the Cardinals and the Tampa Bay Rays, Steinbrenner Field. Another game that we are going to have to keep an eye on with the weather, but just like Atlanta, I do think this game will play all 9 innings. Adrian Hauser going for the Rays. Another one of these big splits guys. You really want lefties against Hauser. For the Cardinals, that would be Nootbaar, Burleson, and Gorman. The only 3 lefties in there, but I do like all 3 guys quite a bit. Definitely on my short list tonight. Nootbaar swinging a good bat in particular right now. And then Miles Michaelis going for the Cardinals. This seems like a terrible spot for Michaelis in the stadium with the wind blowing out, the best home run park in baseball. And he's a guy who survives off of, giving up a lot of medium hit fly balls that turn into outs in Busch Stadium. A lot of those might turn into home runs in Tampa. So this Rays power, Diaz, both lows, Brandon and Josh, Caminero, I think are the best plays in this game, and some of the best plays, I think, on the slate. Caminero in particular, I really want to get in my lineups tonight. So give me all the hitters here, Rays lefties, and then Tampa Bay power in particular is what I'm looking at. Stats, what are you doing with Cardinals and Rays?
Yeah, pitching wise, don't have a lot of interest in either one of these guys, Hauser or Michaelis. Like you said, this tends to be a pretty good hitter's ballpark. It's been pretty cloudy and kind of rainy off and on here all day, so I don't know. I haven't checked the weather for game time yet. We'll have a look at that once the show ends, because I mean typically they get the games in here. I mean we get rain in spots. It's just been kind of a little bit more rainy today than a typical day down here in Tampa. But I agree with you on the bats, and especially the Tampa side. They're actually showing pretty well on the tournament edge. So I think Tampa, especially secondary stacks, like you said, looking at the power bats, Caminero, Lau, those are my 2 favorite here, guys who can hit. Someone was mentioning Simpson in the chat, but I mean he's the best stolen base option. They're putting him at a 5K. He's not going to hit a home run, but you kind of need Simpson at 5K. You're going to need him in a big offensive game, where Tampa's going to have to put a ton of runs up on the board, and he's going to have to be doing some things, obviously with his legs to hit that price. But I like Tampa again. I kind of like a lot of these as a secondary stack. The bats are expensive. You got Williams, shortstop, 3K. If he's in there, not terrible. But for the most part, the bats that I really like in that Tampa lineup are expensive, like I said, with Caminero and Lau. But we'll see what because that lineup's not out yet, is it? They still didn't.
No, we don't have it yet.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see. They've got Seymour. We're projecting to be in there. First base, 2,500 would be a decent option. But to me, I just think the clear plays here are Caminero and Lau. They're clearly the best home run options on in this entire slate, and I like those guys quite a bit, either as a one-off or in secondary stacks. I'm not as crazy about stacking full stacks on either side of this one.
All right, That's St. Louis and Tampa Bay halfway through the slate. Good time to remind everybody watching this show, hit the like button. Helps us bring you guys these shows free of charge during baseball season pretty much every day. So if you're enjoying the show, help us out. Hit that thumbs up. And, of course, football season around the corner. Everything else you need over at Run Pure Sports. With the bet package, with the SaberSim partnership, head on over to Run Pure Sports. You can use promo code RPS15. That'll get you 15% off your first payment. Got everything you need for football season and beyond over at Run Pure Sports. So check it out. Let's go to the White Sox and the Twins. This one in Rate Field in Chicago. Looks like mild weather, 70-ish degrees, humidity, some winds blowing in. Aaron Savale going for the White Sox, coming in at 6,300. So good price point on Savale. He is the cheapest pitcher I'm willing to use on this slate. Stats not sure how far you're going down the list, but Savale at 6,300. Couldn't find anyone else below him that I'm willing to put on roster. So I do have some interest in Savale on teams where I need the salary savings. And then Zebby Matthews going for the Twins, kind of getting a full run out here, I think, these last couple months for the Twins. They want to see what they got in the rookie. He's been really good in the minors, a lot of strikeouts. His results at the big league level have been mixed. The strikeouts have mostly been good. Everything else, mostly not. But, to me, if the strikeouts are there, I think the upside is there. So I think Zebby Matthews has a lot of talent, and he's relatively cheap at 7,700. Looks like he's getting some ownership around 20%, which I think is pretty justified. Obviously in a good matchup, even against a somewhat hot White Sox team. I do like Zebby here. Some interest in Savale, and I think I'm mostly passing on the bats in this one. Your thoughts here, stats, Twins and White Sox.
Yeah, I'm with you on these pitchers. I like Zebby as well. I've got him as the fourth option on the slate. One of the better K per inning projected pitchers that we've got here tonight. 7,700, I think, is pretty reasonable price. When we look at the betting market, Zebby's at 5.5 Ks, and that's heavy juice to the over with 16.5 outs. With Savale at 5.5, juice to under, and 16.5 outs. But I've got some interest in Savale as well. So I like both of these pitchers. He's going to be not quite the lowest because I'm going to get down to Yu Darvish and add him into my mix as well. But 6,300, certainly a pretty good price tag. I've got quite. It's very interesting. Like I've got some real cheap pitchers and then the real expensive guys, and there's like not a lot of in between here today on the pitchers that I like. So Savale's going to definitely make the cut. 8th best option on my model. But yeah, I think if you're going to go either way, you can almost play both. I think you could almost play both sides on the bats. I like the Minnesota bats a little bit more. You're getting a little decent tournament edge. Like Minnesota, I can't give you the exact. I mean, it'll take me a second, but they're going to be like the third, maybe like the 4th or 5th best option as far as tournament edge goes for the entire lineup tonight. And I think with Buxton, Wallner, Larnach, those are the 3 that are right at the top of the list. And you're getting a pretty decent price on a couple of those guys, and really the whole lineup for Minnesota, you could get fairly you can get in on those guys cheap. So even with Outman, Jeffers, and Lee, I don't mind those guys either for those price tags and the upside that they have to potentially hit a home run. So I like the Minnesota bats. I will be stacking 5-man Minnesota stacks for sure. And on the White Sox side, I mean, you're getting good. Vargas is always a pretty good price, and Robert at 4,200, not terrible. So I'm going to have more maybe secondary stacks with the White Sox, and I'm going to probably I'll be over the market, I think, on Minnesota stacks.
Yeah, that makes sense to me with the prices on Minnesota. Savale, obviously not someone to fear. And then you, of course, have the White Sox terrible bullpen behind Savale. So maybe need to include the Twins a little bit more myself. I will mention Zebby has given up a lot of power to lefties. So Kyle Teal, I mentioned him a lot. Looks like he's coming alive for the White Sox a little bit. I think a pretty good catcher play at 3,700. And then Colson Montgomery, I think, is the true stud on this team. Shortstop, 4,200. Do like his power potential if people are not on Zebby Matthews. Let's go to Cleveland and Texas. Up next, we've got the second most expensive pitcher on the slate here. Nathan Eovaldi going for the Rangers has been really, really awesome all season. Did have that one rough start 2 starts ago against the D-backs, bounced back with another gem against the Blue Jays. Last time out, low ERA, low whip, doesn't roll out base runners, gets enough strikeouts to make it work, and gets, a pretty good match, a really good matchup here, I think, against the Guardians, who do have enough strikeouts, especially at the back half of their lineup, to make this a decently high upside spot for Eovaldi. I like him quite a bit. To me, he's right there with anybody on the slate pitching wise. Guardians will go with Slade Ciccone. I had some hopes for this guy early on in the season. He's been pretty rough recently. I really don't think he's as good as I thought he was. And I do think he's a pitcher you can pick on in general. So I do like the Texas bats a little bit too. They're cheap. Corey Seager, the most expensive guy in the lineup at 4,500. So if you want to pick on Ciccone, certainly not expensive to do so. I do like that top half of the Rangers lineup quite a bit. Don't think I'm playing much Guardians bats here. So mostly Eovaldi, some Rangers, and then that's mostly it for me here. What about you, Stats? What do you see, Guardians and Rangers?
Yeah, I mean, I've got Eovaldi as the 6th option. I just think it's too heavy a price here, 10.3K for the upside, or for the lack there of upside. So I mean, 5.5Ks in the betting market, juiced to the under. He is projected for 18.5 outs. That is heavily juiced to the under as well. So, we're projecting obviously in the matchup not to give up all that many earned runs, which is great. Not a guy who's going to walk a lot of batters, but I don't know if the upside in the strikeouts justifies that 10.3K price. So I'll probably wind up being under the market on an Eovaldi tonight. And then and Ciccone, no real interest at all, just not enough Ks. Kind of expecting Texas to hit him a bit. So I'm going to be out there. And with that, I kind of like the Texas bats a little bit more. I mean, I've been playing quite a bit of Peterson. The price is still pretty cheap here. I mean, it doesn't get much cheaper at 2,200. So he's just always going to kind of make the mix. And you've got a really good tournament edge overall with this Ranger team. They're up there kind of in the Minnesota ballpark as far as tournament edge goes, but really at the top is the best. Peterson's going to have a really good tournament edge number. Seager will have a pretty good one, and so will Langford. So I like 5-man stacks here with Texas. Certainly like taking them in secondary stacks, also kind of picking and choosing. Higashioka, 3,100, not bad there behind the plate. So those are the guys, and Tellez, of course, with a lot of home run potential at 2,900. I think you got some good cheap options to mix in there, and really maybe play, if you're going to play him as a secondary stack, with a couple of the cheap guys, and play some really expensive stacks. And if you're going with the more expensive pitchers, they work. I just think Texas fits really nicely here tonight. I'm going to have quite a bit 5-man and secondary stacks of them.
Yeah, especially for people looking to spend up at both pitching spots. Texas makes a lot of sense as a cheaper stack with upside against a pretty mediocre pitcher in Ciccone. So with you on the Rangers, a little bit higher for sure than you are on Eovaldi, but I do get it. You're buying in at the very peak of his price point, and not the strikeout pitcher that you normally associate with that 10K plus. So I do get it with Eovaldi. Let's go to Milwaukee next. You got the Brewers, who have been better than anybody, or just about the second half of this season. We've got Carson Whisenhunt going for the Giants, a lefty rookie pitcher who has really struggled against opposite-handed batters this year in AAA, and especially just 8 innings. But he has been absolutely just pummeled by righties. So at this Brewers team, I mentioned it often. I think they're often overlooked just because they kind of lack the big stars in their lineup that I think can help drive stack ownership too. But yeah, the righties here, Contreras and Vaughn in particular, look like the 2 best, but no Brewers lineup, but really any righties that are in there, including the 2 switch hitting outfielders. I think Collins and Perkins should be in the lineup tonight. I like those guys a bit, and they seemingly go super low owned on most slates. So I'm looking at the Brewers here as I think, somewhat contrarian stack against Whisenhunt and the Giants. And then on the Brewers side, going with Jose Quintana, a pitcher kind of an unexciting option, Quintana, but I do think he should project well. Really good matchup. This Giants team, just not many dangerous bats. Quintana, gets by with outthinking hitters and that type of thing, but he's been good 4 starts in a row. He's going to give you close to 100 pitches, gets to pitch at home. And I think he can give you 15 plus here against the Giants. So I do like him as a value option at 7,300 out on Wizenhunt, and pretty much all Brewers for me in this one. Stats. What are you looking at?
Quintana is really, it's borderline for me on Quintana. The 7,300 price tag, not bad, but he's middle of the pack, 12th option. Wizenhunt, no interest in at all. I think we've got him projected to give up most runs on this entire slate for starting pitchers. So in the prop market, 4.5 Ks for Quintana, 3.5 for Wizenhunt, with 17.5 outs for Quintana, which is pretty good, and that is juiced to the over. So I think that kind of boosts him a little bit. We hope you get some innings out of him. The strikeout numbers, I don't know. He's not necessarily a guy who's going to give us double-digit strikeouts, but I could see playing him. He's just right on the borderline here for me. I'll probably have him in the mix, just not all that much. The Milwaukee bats on the whole actually rate out really well for the tournament edge, but it's weird. They don't. It's all kind of really very good numbers, and no one off the chart, right? So it's like there's no one that's rating at the top.
Does that make you think they're better as a full stack than maybe as one-off?
That's exactly where I was going. I'm kind of like I think I'd rather play Milwaukee as a full stack because I think they kind of all balance. It's a very balanced line as far as DFS and what I'm looking at. Let's just say it's balanced. Like a lot of these guys are in the 15% range of hitting a home run. We don't have anyone like there's no 20 to 25% guy like some of these other lineups are. And that really weighs heavily into how I'm looking at it. I'm looking for the home run potential, but on a slate where we're, there's not a ton of great stacks, I don't think. And against a pitcher who obviously we're not going to be targeting and is projected to give up the most earned runs on the slate. I think Milwaukee, if you get any of the Milwaukee bats in the winning lineup, it's going to be all of them. It's going to be a multitude of them. So I agree with you there. I would play Milwaukee more in full stacks. I think they're either going to go off on this game and accumulate some points for us DFS wise, or it's just not going to happen. I like that better than secondary stacks.
Do you think there's anything to my theory that because they don't have like a star player that people are trying to get in, that the overall stack goes lower on? I feel like sometimes, people want to get Aaron Judge in, and then the natural thing to do is stack the Yankees or Ohtani, same type of thing. So, yeah, I mean, you look at these Brewers ownerships, Sabres got the whole thing 7% or below for, what'd you say? I mean, Wizenhunt, you think he's going to give up more, or, projected to give up more in runs than any other starter. Feels like a good spot to get a low owned and really not that expensive Brewers stack. Sounds like you're on board with that.
Yeah, I think that's the way I would go with the Brewers. I'll play them in 5-mans and I'll kind of leave them out on secondary. It's an unusual situation, but I think that's the better way to go.
Yeah, makes sense. We did just get Alec Burleson scratch, so he was the guy I was looking at pretty closely. So he's out of the lineup. Get him out if you were on him. Let's get to these last 4 games. We do get to the West Coast here, so jump forward an hour and a half in lock time. We go to Angel Stadium, where it should be a really nice night to hit, hot and humid with some winds blowing out. And I think the Cubs are a very, very strong stack. Actually, my favorite overall stack tonight against the lefty Tyler Anderson, who one of those veterans who maybe doesn't get hit quite as hard as sometimes seems like he should, but giving up 3, 4, 5 earned runs on the regular. And I think this Cubs lineup has a lot of potential, even the back half of it. Guys like Happ, Swanson, and Shaw at the bottom make sense to me against Anderson. And then the Cubs will go with Ben Brown. I think he's going to throw around 50 pitches. That's what he's done 4 straight appearances. But hard to know for sure. They've been kind of all over the place with their usage with Ben Brown. 6,600. I do love playing right-handed pitching against this Angels team for the strikeout upside. I didn't end up getting to Ben Brown, though. Maybe the props can convince me otherwise. But right now, I'm not on him. The Angels, I think, are interesting with the power and how volatile Brown can be as a pitcher. I do think they've got upside as well, but it's mostly the Cubs bats that I'm looking at in this game for my own lineup stats. What are you doing with Cubs and Angels here?
Yeah, we kind of would. I like to look at Pinnacle, but they've kind of got the props locked on the and there's no props on the pitching, so we'll see. I don't know if that's typically it's sometimes it's a weather thing, but they're in LA, so I can't really imagine it's that. So we'll see how it goes. But I mean, we're projecting, at least on Sabre, they're looking at Brown going pretty much a normal distance in this game. And if that's the case, then I really do like Brown, right? So I'm going to wait and see. I'll look at some of the other sports books and try to gauge it. But if I'm seeing, reasonable number, like a 15.5 out prop for him with a typical K prop, he's not quite a K per inning guy, but, it's probably more like a 4.5 Ks with, 15.5. If it's a 5.5 K prop, I'd be pretty heavy on Brown. So that's going to be a wait and see, but I'm anticipating probably having more Brown than where's he at in the market? Like where's Sabre looking at?
Yeah,
as far as ownership.
Brown, Sabre's got him ownership wise 13%. That feels 13. High to me, but
we'll see. Because I would actually be over that if the prop market comes in right. So we'll see how that goes. And as far as bats go, yeah, I mean the Cubs are obviously look like they're in a pretty strong spot here with the bats. I don't. Tyler Anderson's the worst pitcher on the slate for me, so I'm not going that way. The issue with the Cubs, I think they're going to be pretty high owned here on this slate. Now the tournament edge is showing pretty favorably just because the upside on these Cubs bats. Tucker, Suzuki, PCA. I know people down on him, but Happ and Swanson, all those guys pretty decently projected as far as home runs on the slate. All of those guys have speed, some obviously a little bit more than others. So Cub stacks always are always interesting. They always have a high potential. The Angels do as well, though. The Angels are always one of those teams that I kind of like as they always work well as a contrarian play, especially kind of a leverage against starting pitching play. And I think even though I do like Brown, I think the Angel bats are certainly in play as well. I think you're going to get decent, even if he's 15%. I like that leverage with Trout, Adele, and Nato. So those are the I like bats pretty much on the whole for this game. I want to get Angels just to kind of get a little leverage against Brown. I think Brown's ownership, like I said, I think it's justified. I just think you've got a lot of potential. I love targeting pitchers that are going to be like 15+% owned, who are these sub 7K type of pitchers, because I think you're typically playing those guys are getting ownership strictly on their salary, which means the bats for the other team obviously have some potential, and the Angels always fit that category with the power that they have. You could play them against better pitching, and the upside is always there. So they'll be very low owned. I like the bats quite a bit in this game. The only thing I think I might just want to get under the Cub bats. They are the highest projected team total on the slate, and I'm not looking at it. If you click the Cubs, just want to see what their ownership
very high.
That's what I figured, right? So you're going to probably want to get under the market, I think, on the Cubs, even though they are going to project out really well. So, I mean, they're on paper probably the best stack of the night, but I think for me, I want to get underneath the market on it. I don't think they're deserving of being that high over the rest of the field.
I agree with you on the highest owned guys here, but I'll stick to my original take when I introduced the game. The back end of this lineup, Swanson, Happ, and Shaw, all in that mid 3K range. None of them have pinch hit risk, and they've all got all hit lefties pretty well. So. Swanson, Happ, Shaw, you're going to get those guys at low ownership. Looks like around 5 to 6% for each, compared to the top of the lineup where most people are going to go. Don't go to the bottom of the lineups all that often, because a lot of teams just have horrible hitters or pinch hit risks down there. But I do think with the Cubs, they make a lot of sense. If you're, maybe you get a different 5-man stack, go to the bottom of the Cubs order. I think that could be a good way to play it tonight. Let's get to Arizona for the Reds and the Diamondbacks. This one in Chase Field. We've got Zach Littell going for the Reds, one of those kind of low strikeout, low walk type pitchers. Doesn't come into play all that often. Curious where you have him tonight, but yeah, kind of just middle of the pack for me for Littell at 7,600, even in a pretty good matchup against a watered down Diamondbacks lineup. And then Ryan Nelson going for Arizona. He had a pretty good run a month or so ago. Just come back to earth a little bit. He's an okay arm again. It's kind of similar to Littell, not in pitch types, but in just the results. Not super high strikeouts, but doesn't walk guys. I think he's, again, okay in this one against the Reds. But, yeah, as you can tell, maybe I'm just mostly kind of out on this game. Don't see myself going to a ton here. Nelson, Littell, Reds, and Diamondbacks. What do you see, stats?
Yeah, so I mean, Nelson's at 4.5 on his K prop, 17.5 outs, which, not terrible. Littell, 17.5 outs as well, just 3.5 on his K prop. So really no interest in Littell. I would say Nelson, a bit of interest. He'll be in my player pool, 7,500 price tag. I mean, not a guy who's going to typically walk anybody. Pretty good control with limited upside as far as the Ks go. We do expect them to go reasonably, not deep, but a reasonable out prop. So at that price tag, I'm fine with playing some Nelson. But the bats, I'm not overly in love with the bats. They're kind of the bats that you're going to like in this game. I think are kind of expensive. Again, that Arizona is pretty much the top of the lineup for those guys at this point, and it's pretty weak at the bottom. Carroll, Marte are pretty much a play, I think, in just about every slate if you like, but that's a lot to put into a secondary stack. You're going to be paying 12.1 to play both of those guys in there, and Ellie's kind of it's kind of similar. Like he's always a good play, but do I really want to stack this game? So I don't necessarily love stacks. I think in my 150 builds, I'm just going to kind of sprinkle a few of these guys in there. I think the other Marte on the Cincinnati side is playable, assuming he's in there. Gurriel for Arizona. I mean, we've got some options. I'm going to keep these guys in, but I don't really necessarily want to stack this game too heavily. Moreno behind the plate, 3,200, not terrible. Not a terrible price, but yeah, there's a lot of the cheaper bats in this game I just don't like, and then the bats that I do like are kind of expensive.
Makes sense to me. I won't be going to a ton of Reds and Diamondbacks myself. Let's get to Dodgers in San Diego in Petco Park. We've got Blake Snell going for the Dodgers. Has looked pretty good since returning. Has made 3 starts. One of them really good against Toronto. Actually has faced San Diego last time out. Pitched pretty well. 6 scoreless innings, just 3 strikeouts. But yeah, Snell looks like he's pretty close to the good version of himself, which is one of the higher in general, DFS plays at starting pitcher. 9,300 for him. Obviously a low strikeout matchup here, but I do think he's at least interesting. And then you mentioned having some interest in Yu Darvish. Been pretty rough for Darvish since coming back. You obviously still have some faith in the skills if you're willing to play him against the Dodgers. And of course, the price tag at 6,200, I'm sure has as much to do with that as anything. Very low price tag for someone of Darvish's talent, even if he hasn't pitched very well so far this year. So I get it on Darvish. Hard for me to click him, though, against the Dodgers. Personally, what are you doing here? Stats with Dodgers and Padres.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously love Dodger bats, but I just think that price tag's tough to pass up. 14.5 outs, but like 2-1 to the over with 4.5 strikeouts. Like just those numbers are, it's tough to pass up at 6,200.
Yep.
I think you've got some upside there. And Snell's 5.5 Ks in the betting markets, 15.5 outs. I've got him kind of middle of the pack. I think he makes the cut for me. He's one of the better, I think the best probably upside as far as K per innings for Snell. He's just another guy who I was mentioning with McCullers earlier, really just doesn't have a ton of control. I think that's what we're kind of worried about with him, but I think worth taking a stab at the 9,300 just for the upside. I think there is some K upside potential here for him. But yeah, I mean, as you know, I mentioned I'll probably be over the market on Darvish. I didn't look at what it is. I assume he's not going to be very high owned.
15%. Sabres.
Oh, 15. Yeah, then I won't be over, but I'm going to have some interest in him. I mean, if he comes in 15% or 16%, I'll probably be underneath that. But Yeah, Dodger bats are going to really. They're as it's odd to say. Yeah, I'm going to have Darvish in my mix, but I think the Dodger stacks are some of the best stacks. They're always expensive, but you're getting a really good tournament edge. I don't know if we're probably projecting the Dodger bats not particularly high as far as ownership when you look at. I'm looking at it there.
Everybody else under 5%. They're saying.
Yeah, so we'll see how that actually plays out, but. And that could be the case. And if it is, you want to, I think you want to get over on Dodger bats, even if they're just slightly higher owned than what we're projecting here on Sabres. So this will be one of my favorite stacks. I'm going to call it contrarian just because Sabres projecting them so low, but I really like Dodger stacks. Obviously, the names are obvious with Ohtani and Betts and Tasker and. Those are your main guys there, but really the whole way through that lineup, there's not many bats in that lineup that I would not play. So I really like Dodger stacks, and I will sprinkle in some Darvish as well, just to get a little piece of that. But I like the Dodger side of this game. I think is really strong.
Yeah, if these Dodgers ownerships hold true, definitely want to be over the field on those. And yeah, you can run on Darvish as well. So the Dodgers speed gets a little bit of a bump against Darvish as well. Let's get to the last game on the slate. We'll go back over stacks, pitching, do a quick pick six before we get on over the Discord, watch the weather, answer questions, get our cores, lineups in, all that good stuff. But first, let's talk about Seattle and the the A's. In Seattle here, you've got Brian Wu, who's going to be, I assume, one of the more popular pitchers on the slate, pulling up ownership here. Yeah, Wu, 36%, looks like highest projected ownership of any pitcher. Seems justified to me. Stats. Wu has been really good in general, but of course, especially good pitching in Seattle, which he will tonight against a powerful but strikeout heavy A's team that in this park, it's kind of hard to get to the power. Tough home run park. And Wu, I think, looks like a really safe option with upside too in this particular matchup. So certainly in on Brian Wu, even at that high ownership number. And then the A's will go with Luis Morales. Did throw 87 pitches last time out, made it through 5 innings. Doesn't seem very good to me. Looks like he's got probably some pretty true splits where the Seattle bats look good. I'm looking at Josh Naylor in particular, some steal upside too for him. It's been running wild with the Mariners so far. But yeah, Wu is the story in this game. What are you doing with Mr. Wu in the rest of this game stats?
Yeah, Wu definitely the story. He's got the highest out projection and maybe the highest strikeout projection as well, or props, I should say. So 6.5 on his prop, 19.5. It is juiced to the under though on his out. So we're looking for Wu to go deeper than any other pitcher on this slate with Morales 4.5 Ks and 14.5 outs. They're just not looking for Morales to go very deep into this one. So as a matter of fact, he's the lowest projected innings. Otherwise, he would be higher on my list. I'm just not going to play Morales here just because I just don't anticipate him going very deep. But his K per inning numbers are pretty good. Wu, on the other hand, I think might be the best option on the entire. I like this ballpark always for pitching. You're paying up. This is the highest priced pitcher on the slate, 10.5. But probably your safest play as far as pitchers go is Wu here tonight. I would think he's probably your best cash option as well. I don't play a lot of cash stuff, but probably the best cash option on the slate. Now, Seattle's going to really, and this is another one of those teams, just because of the power in the Seattle lineup, they're going to project out really well on that tournament edge. We've got a lot of guys that with home run potential. Obviously, you got the guy with the most home runs out there right now in Raleigh, but Arozarena, Suarez, Naylor, Julio, all those guys are in play for me. I just don't like to get too heavy on these Seattle bats in Seattle. Tough ballpark to hit in, but they're going to project out really well on the report. Normally, I wouldn't. I kind of like to, not play too many 5-man stacks of in that ballpark, but I think I'm going to have to with Seattle. I think the upside is still there on the Seattle bats, so I think we'll get decently low ownership. So I'm going to take some chances here with Seattle 5-man stacks.
Makes sense. That's all 12 games. Let's get to our favorite pitchers on the slate. Stats. Who are you looking at pitcher top pitching combination on DraftKings?
Man, the top pitching I think it's going to be like, I think we're looking at like a Wu and Zebby, I think are going to be that's going to be my combo.
I like both those guys a lot. I will throw in Max Fried, who I think has got more strikeout upside in this matchup than he typically does. I think there's probably nothing wrong with Fried. I know he struggled recently. I think he gets back to it tonight. And then I'll roll the dice with Shane Bieber at around 10% ownership. I think we're going to see a good version of Shane Bieber right out of the gate for Toronto. And yeah, I think people are a little hesitant to buy in. Certainly are in the prop market on the strikeout stuff, but I'm a believer in Shane Bieber tonight. So give me Fried and Bieber, a little bit of savings from the top guys at the top end of the pitching pricing spectrum. Favorite stats. I think it's kind of wide open. Sounds like you agree for the most part tonight. What are you looking at for stacks tonight? Give me your top three.
Yeah, I would say the Dodgers, Yankees, and Cubs for me are going to be my favorite stacks tonight.
Yeah, Cubs are number one, although the ownership number for them is scaring me a little bit. I'm going to throw in the Braves. I'm going to stick with them even after the disappointing night on Wednesday, and then give me the Rays against Miles Michaelis. I just don't think that park is built for Michaelis' skill set. Obviously, the Rays, quite a bit of power in that lineup. All right, stats. We'll pull up pick 6 here. We'll do that, and then we'll get on out of here. So I got pick 6 up here. Any idea where we want to start on this one?
Yeah, let me pull that up as well. We've got is the Zebby number, is that one of the bonus or one of those boosted numbers on his strikeouts? Let's see.
Let me get to the. Is there a way to look at the bonus? I don't see a bonus out there.
Yeah, no, it'll just kind of hold on, I got it up. Let's see. Usually it's right up front. But no, that's his normal. So it's 5.5, right? For Zebby on the over. I'm going to take Zebby. I'm sorry, 15.5. I want his outs to the over. It's 15.5 is the player outs for Zebby. So I'm going to take that to the over.
I certainly like that. I'm having trouble with the screen share right now. I'm not sure if you can pull it up. I lost it. But yeah, Zebby over on the outs. You like Vinny P over hits, runs, RBIs 1.5?
Yeah, I don't mind that. Yeah, I don't mind that.
All right,
one.
We'll throw that in. Sorry about the lack of screen share here. I'll try to get it up. But yeah, Vinny over, Zebby over. What do you want to look at next, stats?
Give me Ryan Nelson. Give me his strikeout total. It's 4.5. I'll take that to the over.
Didn't think we'd get a Ryan Nelson shot.
I know.
But there
Listen,
you go. You never know.
We got it. I don't take all the. I'm not going to take all the best players here. That's kind of how you have to win this thing. You can't take all the chalk.
Fair enough. I like it. Ryan Nelson over 4.5 strikeouts. I'm getting Bieber in there. I'm getting Bieber on the strikeouts. 4.5 feels more than fair for me with him. 0.8x multiplier, not ideal, but give me Shane Bieber. Stats will throw it to you for the next one.
They've got a Matt Shaw singles prop, and I'm going to go under the half. So no singles for Matt Shaw.
All right, no singles for Matt Shaw. Like that, he's going to hit for power anyway. So
yeah, exactly. No bait. There's going to be either power in that game, no hits. We need a couple of those unders. Kind of helps you on the payout.
And I'm going to my favorite home run call on the day, Mr. Junior Caminero, taking Michaelis deep, 1.6x on the multiplier with Caminero. Do think he's the best home run bet of anybody on this entire slate. So that'll do it for the pick 6 and this show. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We do appreciate it. Hit the like button on your way out if you haven't done so yet. And the show will be back on Sunday morning, me and Shlong for that one. All right, until Sunday, he's Stats. I'm DC. We're out of here.